All right. So we're recording this at a little before midnight on Monday night after a historical night, something that we're never going to forget as Jet fans, both for the positive and the negative. As Jan Levine joins me. Not sure we were going to do this. Matter of fact, we just came up with this at the last second, but that's because just got to the point where we were texting each other, and it was like, well, why do we do? Let's just get on the air and talk. So first, let's talk about the good stuff. Um, I did not expect them to win that football game. When they were down, were they down 13-3?
13-3.
I just, you knew that the only way that they were going to win the football game was the defense. And even though the Jets had an offensive touchdown, it was the defense that won the football game. And they did the turnover thing that we waited for them to do all last year. And then to get the kick return, punt return touchdown at the end was by a rookie. It's just amazing. I don't even know because look, this would have been fantastic. This would have been a fantastic win, obviously, with Aaron Rodgers. But this game wouldn't have ended this way with Aaron Rodgers. This would have been a completely different type of win. We would have preferred to lose and keep Aaron Rodgers healthy, but it is what it is. And now we just have to hope that even though Rodgers is out for the year, that they did enough today that the confidence will be that big that it'll carry them through to hopefully a playoff berth this year.
Yeah, so I mean, there's an inordinate amount to unpack from this game, right? I'll start where you started, the D, right? As you mentioned, one of the things that was two things that were criticisms of this defense were one, the ability to get turnovers, and B, the ability to get off the field on third down. Um, First half, other than the one turnover, the pick by Whitehead, his first of three picks, which is crazy to begin with,
Yeah.
right? They couldn't find a way to get off on third down. They didn't have great gap containment, right? Allen was kept using his legs to create some space, create open room. I mean, even on the touchdown, you saw the touchdown to Diggs, right? He got around the end and just was able to get enough to get the touchdown. But second half, the defense clamped down, a couple of huge picks, and then obviously the fumble Clemens, the hit on Allen after he muffed the snap, and big recovery. So first of all, four turnovers is huge. Secondly, got off the field a lot on third down, was able to find a way to get off. Um, I didn't think Sauce Gardner had a great game. I thought Stephon Diggs actually played well against him.
Yeah.
Gardner got burned a bit early in the first half.
Yeah.
I thought DJ Reed did a nice job on him in the second half and was able to shut Diggs down enough to be able to get off the field. I thought the defensive line came up big. I mean, Q was just a monster tonight. I mean, he was just all over the place. I mean, Quincy, I think, had 11 tackles, if I heard correctly.
Oh,
But
Quincy.
Q was
Quincy had
just
the game of his life.
yeah, Quincy was a beast, but Quinnen was just literally
Oh yeah.
all over the place.
Yeah.
I mean, just creating space. Jermaine Jackson with a big sack, John Franklin Myers with a big stack. I thought Sherwood had a decent game. The secondary came up big when they had to. So the defense as a whole, look, they gave up 16 points, but a lot of it can be discounted early on because, as Gibson said, right, the energy went down substantively after Rodgers got hurt, which is expected. I mean, you can kind of expect a kind of a letdown, but when they went in the second half and went into the locker room, they kind of got re-energized. I mean, going down only 13-3 going in at halftime was probably pretty big. Right? Anything more would have been disastrous, but they were able to keep their control and only give them 3 points, I think, into the second half. So first of all, good job on Jeff Ulbrich getting the team in the right positions. Good job by Robert Saleh getting the team to refocus. Um, Offensively, I thought Cook played a lot more than I think you and I even expected. I think
I
Brees Hall
cannot
played a
believe the
lot more
game he
than
had.
I expected. I mean, Brees with an 83-yard run, and then they barely get a field goal out of it. But Brees looked like Brees of last year. Cook, after only being in for 2 weeks, learned the entire playbook. They remarked on the broadcast that they were surprised and on the team as a whole how well he did. Um, Look, and then the touchdown by Garrett Wilson. I mean, that's just talent. I mean, there's no other way to describe it other than that's just pure ability and
Oh yeah.
talent to be able to come up with a play like that, tipping it to himself, falling on his back, and making the catch. Um, Quarterback, look, I didn't think Wilson was fine. He didn't look, in my opinion, he didn't look skitterish, which was one of the things we were concerned about. I do think having worked with Rodgers this offseason absolutely helped him from a confidence perspective. I don't think he played particularly great. He
Oh no.
made a really good throw to Lazard falling down, got the ball out to Wilson to give Wilson a chance to make a play.
Well,
But
he
as
made
of
some
right
big
now,
throws on that touchdown drive. I
yeah,
mean, he stuck in there, and he could have
yeah,
lost his confidence with the interception, and the
right.
stage is too big, and he didn't do that. And that's a really good defense that he did, that he was able to keep his composure and not turn the ball over again.
Yep, absolutely. So bad throw. Didn't read the linebacker. Milano
Yeah,
did a
that was
great job
bad.
on that play.
That was old. That
But
was old
but as
Zach.
you
Yeah.
That was old Zach. But Wilson did a good job of staying in there. Didn't make a lot of plays, made a handful of plays. They literally took the ball out of his hands on the field goal drive at the end where,
And they
look,
were right to do that.
the only thing I would have done, 1st and 10 with 2:06 to go, I probably would have thrown the ball there.
You mean the
Because
one
even
on
if you have
one?
an incompletion, you're right. You're
Yeah,
probably getting to the 2-minute warning anyway. So why not take a shot there?
I agree.
I didn't think they were going to throw the ball on 2nd or 3rd down, but that's
Yeah.
would have been where I might have taken a shot because you're going to get to the 2-minute warning anyway. So as long as he doesn't throw a pick, it's kind of no pick and no sack. It's no harm, no foul
Well,
on that
what
play.
really
But
screwed up that drive, though, and maybe it was uh, maybe it was Hackett, because it looked like they got the play in late, and everybody was running up to the line of scrimmage, and they
yep,
basically screwed that first. They got like what, negative yard or two on that
minus
first
two.
down,
Yep,
and it screwed
minus
up the
two on the
entire
play.
drive, and that was it. And then they had to play
Yep.
conservative. And so that was their chance, because if they would have had a 5 yard gain on first down, then they could be a little bit, maybe we can go for it. But they were done. It was a field goal drive after that play, after that getting it in late.
I mean,
But
when
so
we talk, and the big thing you've talked a lot about, I know we've talked about is special teams, right? So, I mean, look, the Gibson touchdown notwithstanding, and I know it's a lot of talk on Twitter of there was a leg whip on it and
yeah,
a trip with
whatever.
by Surratt, and
Wasn't
but
intention. Wasn't
Moorhead,
intentional.
but great job by the punter. Pinned him deep when he had to, didn't allow any big returns. Zerline with 3 field goals, although the third one, boy, he didn't get any lift on that one. He looked like he snuck it through the guy's hands. If you watch on a replay, I'm going, boy, you're lucky that one didn't get blocked because that was horrible. And then Bass doinks a 50-yarder off the goalpost, and I think every Jet fan is going, we all know how this is going to
I
end. We
know.
all
As
know
soon
how
as that,
it's gonna end.
I felt really confident after we took the lead, and because I really was surprised, to tell you the truth, that we gave up a field goal drive. The way our defense was playing, I wasn't happy about that. I felt that, because look, championship defenses aren't supposed to do that. They're supposed to end the game
Yep.
in those situations, no matter who it's against. But look, it was a long field goal, so I'll give him that. He's a great player. You do have to give him that. But yeah, when the doink went in, you kind of went back to feeling, you've got to be kidding me. That, what is this going to do? We had all the
Yep.
momentum, and it just got taken away from us in a doink. But yeah, it was important to stop him. And you know what? When they got the kickoff, when they received the kickoff, I didn't mind, because I didn't really know how much we were going to be able to drive the football with Zach in overtime,
Mhm.
and that would have given them field position. And how do we know Zach's not going to throw an interception in overtime? So
Right.
I was okay with Buffalo getting the ball first, and giving our defense the opportunity to dictate
Which
the beginning of overtime.
they did. Big stop on first down, incompletion to Knox, and then the other two stops and didn't give him a chance to get the momentum. And then Martin with not a great snap, and he kidded on a line drive. Great first play by Gibson to get outside, and then blocks down the sideline, and then even after the blocks, making Martin the punter miss, and then cutting it back inside. That was all Gibson. I mean, he got the blocks to get to the
Yeah,
outside, but the original read to create the space and make the move. And look, guy had his moment on Hard Knocks, and guy had his moment in Week 1. And like they say, it's hard to win in the NFL. They face a Cowboy team that dismantled the Giants this past week, so they take another step up, and they're gonna have to find a way to score. Joe Douglas has got to work his work cut out for him, because they're gonna have to go try to find a quarterback? Is it Carson Wentz? Do they go after Matt Ryan? Do they go after Gardner Minshew? Do they go after somebody of that of do they go after Nick Foles? Do they go after somebody to try to give them a solid backup, because Tim Boyle is not the guy you want to be backing up in case something happens, probably to
Yeah,
Wilson.
because you hit it on the head. It's not about a backup that's going to, well, if Zach doesn't play well, the backup will come in. That's not what that's going to be about. It's going to be about, if Zach goes down, we potentially have too good of a team to hand it over to Tim Boyle. So
Yep.
the quicker we get somebody in there that can learn and hopefully knows the system. I mean, you got to take a look. We haven't had time, but got to take a look at Hackett's background, see what kind of quarterbacks he's worked with. Hopefully, he's worked with a few guys that are still out there. I have no idea what his relationship is. I mean, with Joe Douglas, we know his relationship, but it's more important of whose relationship Hackett has than Joe Douglas, really. So,
I mean, the other two pieces. One, clearly, it's going to sound weird. Silver lining is they don't give up a first round pick next year. I mean, it's odd to say it's a silver lining, but basically he had to play 65% of the snaps for it to happen for the second round to become a first rounder. And I think you and I were both going, he
oh yeah,
plays
that was
well.
easy.
And
Yeah,
given our aspirations,
yeah,
we'll gladly give up the first rounder.
yeah,
But based upon what we hear and the reports to date, nothing confirmed. Likelihood is probably a ruptured Achilles and probably season-ending surgery.
yeah.
That ends up this first rounder stays on the table. Secondly, the only other thing I think I saw was CJ Uzama looked like he hurt his shoulder during the game. Looked like they were working on his Sonic, because you saw Rockard a lot in that game, in my opinion. At least when I looked up, I
Yeah.
saw him. Wilson didn't do a good job of going to the tight ends as well, unless they were max protecting. Brown clearly with a poor block on the sack by Oliver. And ironically, two things I saw in that was, one, Rogers goes down right away. He probably doesn't get hurt, because when he twisted to try to get away, that's when he hurt himself. And then clearly the question is going to be, was that a turf related injury, or would it have happened potentially even if they were on grass, based upon the way the injury occurred? So Brown didn't have a good game, and I think Tomlinson was particularly great in the first half. Becton was fine, but the Jets, when they needed to, were able to. They got almost 200 yards running. Granted, 83 of them on that big run by Hall, but Buffalo kind of knew they were going to run, given with the fact that Wilson was in the game, and they still did a pretty good job of running the ball, even though Buffalo, I think, kind of figured out that the main attack was going to be Cook and Hall getting the ball a lot.
Well, I will tell you, I will say this. I actually there was a few points in the game where I thought Hackett should have ran the ball more. There was a couple of series that he kind of just completely went away from the running game, and under that situation, I just think they should have ran, because there was some. Remember, we had one series where it was a, I don't know, it was, I guess they were trying to get a screen to Garrett Wilson, and ended up being like a 2-yard loss, and they went right back to another sort of line of scrimmage pass, and it's just, just run the ball. I mean, if you're going to do that, then just run the ball. I mean, we've been running it effectively, so I think there was a little of that. I think they could have ran the ball more, but other than that, you really can't complain about much at all in this game, except what we can kind of talk about a little bit more now, and that's the Aaron Rodgers situation and how it's going to affect the Jets. And I guess, like you said, the good news is no first round draft pick. The good news is, if Zach Wilson does not take a step this year, it's a week 1 injury. So Aaron would be completely ready to go once again, week 1 in 2024. But the question then becomes, what if Zach does play well? And what if Zach does take the Jets to the postseason? Is this going to be another Brett Favre situation where Aaron Rodgers decides, all right, well, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to now go to another team. I'm going to spend a year with the Jets, and I'm going to go somewhere else.
Well, I mean, I think Favre was more so the timing associated with the injury and the shoulder injury, and the Jets deciding to move on, because I think
I'm just saying,
and that was
1
change,
year,
right?
and he's
but
gone.
Is it feasible if Wilson plays well that Rodgers decides to go elsewhere? Anything is feasible.
Sure.
First of all, that would depend on Wilson playing well.
Yeah, that's a big if.
right? And I think it's the extent of how well he
Yeah.
plays, and also how comfortable Rodgers gets in terms of being in New York, even if he's not playing. Right? You assume he's probably going to work with Wilson on the sidelines to try to help him do stuff he was doing already. He's just going to have to exponentially go there when he's around the team, depending on if he has the surgery and the recovery that goes associated with the surgery. I
Yeah.
mean,
Unfortunately, we're going to
look,
see him.
you look at Carl Lawson, right, and how long it took him to get back. Now, granted, totally different type of injury. Um, Granted, it was to Wilson. I think it's to his left leg, to Rogers' left leg. I think is where the injury occurred, if I'm not mistaken. So if it's not his right leg clearly is the plant leg for throwing. So it's the only. If it is the left leg, that's the positive because he's not necessarily using it to plant and throw. We'll have to see what it does to his maneuverability when he comes back also. And granted, we're all putting cart before horse and everything else right now. Clearly, two stories of one. Obviously, Rogers' injury force plays into the game, and then B, I wouldn't call it miracle at the Meadowlands, but pretty close to miracle at the Meadowlands, given what it looked like at halftime and the way the game ended and how they won it.
Yeah. So look, this is one of those games that we'll only know how big it's going to be by the end of the season. If the Jets go 7-9, I mean 7-10, and it's a repeat, no, we're not going to care. It's not going to mean anything. It's going to be, oh, that was a fun day. That was a fun night. We remember that. We had a great time. That was awesome. But how many times have we experienced stuff like that? I mean, we have. Not a lot, but we have. We're sick of that. We're sick of having that experience where we look back and go, "Oh, that was a great. Oh, let's watch that all-time classic on ESPN or on the NFL Network." We don't want that. We want those games to lead to something, and the key is going to be health. Not, of course, Aaron Rodgers is a big loss, but talking about this defense and really the offensive line and keeping your star players healthy. And if the Jets can do that, I just think this is the type of win that puts them over the top. I really,
Yeah,
I think it's going to. I think the only thing that's gonna slow this momentum down is going to be injuries in my mind.
and I think the first thought that came to every Jets fan's mind is 1999 Vinny Testaverde.
Oh yeah,
Kind of hard not to have that thought because it's a similar nature, right? Coming to the season with high expectations. That year was most certainly Super Bowl expectations after falling in the AFC Championship game to the Broncos in a game they led at halftime, and lineup looked to be on paper a stellar lineup. Now,
John
granted,
Elway
this
had
year's a little
retired.
yep. Granted, this year's a little different only because Rodgers was brought in first year with the system, but the similar heightened expectations coming into the year and could end up with the same thing. Now, again, whether or not Zach Wilson can do his best Ray Lucas impersonation and rally the troops
Well, he
late.
better do a better Ray Lucas impersonation. I mean, come on.
Lucas was pretty darn good once Parcells turned to him and stopped going to Tom
Yeah,
Tupa
well,
that year.
still, it.
They won five in a row under Lucas. It was just too little, too late. But
Yeah.
granted, look, it's going to be the defense that's going to have to carry them, and
Yep.
they did today.
And the running
And
game.
right, and so the four turnovers, the sacks, that's going to be the key, and then it's going to be Brees Lightning and Cook, left, right, up the middle, screen passes, one guy out in the flat, one guy back, open backfields. They're going to have to do all kind of sorts of combinations to get both of them in the field as much as possible, and they were supposed to ease Hall in. Clearly didn't really ease him in today based upon the usage pattern.
No. And it's unfortunate that he wasn't healthy because he's not 100% like he's going to be next year because there's no way he gets caught. Next year, if he's in that situation, he ain't getting caught. So
Yep.
those are the little things that happen, and this is why we always say it. It takes time. The first year back, you're not the same guy, but that's still pretty good of what of what we saw tonight, and we'll take it. But you could see the difference. That's 7 points, and it turned out to be 3. So it is what it is. You got to deal with it. And like you said with Lawson, I mean, we're doing this with this defensive line without him. So even
Yep.
hopefully he'll come back and be healthy enough to make a difference. Then that's just gonna, because this is one of the favorites in the AFC, and our defense was phenomenal. Absolutely, and this is
I
and
agree.
not just one of the best teams in the AFC, one of the best offenses in the AFC, and look what our defense was able to do to that.
I mean, if you're on the flip side, right, Buffalo right now has to be lamenting throwing a game away they should have won, especially with Rodgers out. I do think there's most certainly, as somebody who has Allen in a couple fantasy leagues, concerns about Allen because it's a couple times over the last year he's had a
Well,
lot of turnovers in games and made mistakes in games that he probably shouldn't have.
as long
I
as
mean,
it's
no,
only
no.
the Jets.
Well, I mean, I'm just saying in general, right? I mean, I'm saying
I have
they're
Allen in
probably
my one
going.
fantasy league. I'm,
What,
I'm not worried. I'll be worried if he
what's
does it
going?
next
What's
week.
going on? Look, Diggs was big today. I mean, you saw some things out of Davis. You saw what Kincaid can do. You saw what Cook can do. But that offensive line, I wouldn't say they got mauled, but the Jets' defensive line had pressure pretty much all night.
Yeah.
And they made Allen run and scramble and do whatever they needed to do, and they shut down the running game for the most part. So that defensive line was monstrous today, and the rotation makes a big difference. I mean, Q wasn't in late, but on that drive they finally got him in late, and he helped with a couple of pass rushes. But he was just all over the place today, and the linebacking crew, Mosley, Sherwood, and Quincy all had good games in my opinion.
Yep. Yeah. Again, it's hard to tell how this is gonna how this is, because I think it's even just too early for us to, because of the win, the nature of the win. Because the only thing that's taking away from the win is Aaron Rodgers, of course, getting hurt. Because without that, you know, because you just want to experience something even that much more pleasurable. But you just do something and you go, oh yeah, that's right. There is this something there, and it's maybe not something that we're gonna really understand fully for another couple of days, because this is still a good night.
Mm-hmm.
Even with Rogers' injury, this is a good night. We're going to enjoy this. We're going to enjoy this, and we're going to enjoy the optimism of, hey, maybe we can go into Dallas next week and beat them. Now, I don't know if we will, but this is what we're going to enjoy. And maybe it's all going to come crashing down to earth if the offense sputters and we get beat by the Cowboys, and it's like, oh, it's going to be a longer season than we thought. But for now, we're going to enjoy this and try to soak in as much of it as possible, and hope that this is the beginning of something special this season, because you never know. Every season's different. You never know. Like you even said with Ray Lucas, even though it didn't take the Jets anywhere, nobody expected them to even get on a roll. And teams have had situations before. I mean, I'm sure they're going to start talking about it. They're going to look in the history books, and they're going to pick out a couple of situations where Tom Brady, where a quarterback gets hurt early in the season, you think it's over, the backup comes in, and they actually go on and have a very successful season. You just never know. And
Mm-hmm.
we can just hope. We could just hope that this is one of those
Yeah, I mean,
seasons.
look, we knew the first 5 games were going to be tough, irrespective of who was at quarterback. Right now, it's ratcheted up a little bit, but you also got a win tonight that at halftime clearly looked highly unlikely, to put it
Well, just
mildly.
just imagine. See, this is what we have to think about. Just imagine if we lose the game and lose Aaron Rodgers.
Right.
What a
Not just
devastating
losing the game,
situation this would have been tonight.
but if you had lost the game after coming back and in
That would have been
overtime, it would
different,
have been
sure.
doubly worse.
Yeah.
It would have been worse, right? Because you've rallied to
Well, it
put
would have been
yourself in a
worse. The
position
feeling
where
would
you
have
have
felt
a
worse if
chance to win the game.
the dank would have led to an overtime loss. Yes,
Right.
but still, we would have felt, well, we made a game of it. Maybe there's something, a silver lining. It would have been much worse had we lost the game 16-3 and lost Aaron Rodgers. That would have
Right.
been the worst
Right.
possible situation. But anyway, none of it happened. All the good stuff happened. And now we're going to try to soak this in and enjoy it. And I'm glad at least we had an opportunity to get it off our chest at 12:17 in the morning on Tuesday, and considering 9/11, now it's 9/12 because we have to throw that in there. It was 9/11 it happened on.
Yep.
This is
Yep.
going to go down in Jet history as one of the classic wins. Again, it won't mean as much, but if it leads to something, it could go down as one of the biggest wins in franchise history. If it leads
Yeah.
to something.
Correct.
So let's hope so. Jan, thanks for doing this. I'm going to be wired up at least for another couple hours, but I know you're dealing with an air conditioner issue, so I don't know how you're going to go to sleep in
I'm
80
going to
degree
bed soon
weather.
because I got to be up in about five plus hours for work. So.
Well, you should probably. If I was you, I'd probably would just go to work now. Get in the air conditioned building.
Nah, right. The fan downstairs isn't horrible, so at least it's a little better than in some of the other rooms right now. But
all right, what's the temperature out there?
well, we had this week was about 80, 90 degrees and about an 89 degree humidity, so it was pretty bad, and it poured here today. So it's been pretty humid and pretty hot in the house. I'm hoping tomorrow I get the new motor in my compressor and the air conditioner, and
so what
it'd be
is
very
it?
nice to feel coolness.
It's still like around 80 in the high 70s.
Yeah, and humid.
What is it, Florida?
So,
Jeez.
Yeah, pretty much. It's like a sauna here in New York right now.
Wow. All right, Jan. So anyway, let's. I hope that we remember this day fondly. I'm glad we were able to share it together because we've been through a lot of negative stuff the last several years.
1-0. Got a little notch
1-0.
on the left side of the ledger right now.
When is the last time we said 1-0?
A while. It's been a while.
Have we been over 500? When was the last time we were over 500?
Last year we were 7-4.
Oh, that's right. What am I saying? Yeah.
7-4.
Yeah.
Before the bottom fell out.
That's true.
Right, which was why they ended up getting Rodgers. They thought they were a quarterback away, which they were.
Yeah, that's true. I forgot about that.
So yeah, but no, because you mentioned 9/11.
Didn't feel like it. That's why.
So
every season feels like it's a negative. So
I hear you. I know.
All right. Anyway, 1-0. Let's soak that in as long as we can. Cowboys, big one on Sunday. Hopefully, we'll be wired up and happy again to do this a little earlier though, on a Sunday. So Jan, get some sleep if you can, and I'll talk to you hopefully next week.
Hopefully.
Hopefully.